Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Assalamu alaikum if you're joining us live, and assalamu alaikum if you're catching us on the replay. If you are new to the channel, my name's Aisha Abdul Hadi, and I help Muslims succeed without overwhelm, inshallah. And subhanallah, we are on day 23 of our brand new The Balanced Muslimah Series, here live with you every day, and we are talking about different tips, strategies, advice to help you live a more balanced life, inshallah, whether that's related to your personal life, your professional life, the different roles that you're juggling, perhaps even with your parenting, then we're here to help you, inshallah. So today we're talking about balancing responsibilities, and specifically if you are someone who is perhaps studying or working and at the same time trying to balance your responsibilities at home. Usually that's related to things like your childcare and trying to manage your children and all the household responsibilities that you may have as well, inshallah. And this is something that I also struggled with, because I got married quite early on and I continued my studies, alhamdulillah, continued my higher education and got my degrees. I was working at some points as well, inshallah. And it might be that you live in certain places, or due to your situation, you're required to do these things. And it's just to give you some sort of ideas on how to do it in a more effective manner, inshallah, and how to cope as well, because it is a really hard situation if you find yourself balancing and you're trying to do two completely different things but at the same time, subhanallah. So first, let's go to Islamic history and look at some other notable women who might have done the same, subhanallah. So let's think about people like Aisha bint Abu Bakr radiallahu anha. Again, we already talked about her when we talked about our Inspiring Muslim Women series, subhanallah, and how she balanced her role. Now, we know that she was a wife, she was a teacher, and she was a highly respected scholar as well, narrating well over 2,000 hadith, subhanallah. So she was extremely knowledgeable and intelligent, and she used that knowledge as well. And we also have Fatima al-Fihri, the first, the woman who founded the first university. So she's from Morocco, and she used the inheritance to build a masjid, which then turned into a, degree granting university, subhanallah, whilst she was also managing the other roles in her daily life. So I've already mentioned in previous vlogs about how seeking knowledge is an obligation upon Muslims. So if you're trying to seek knowledge to better yourself and to better your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's a good thing, because that's going to obviously have a positive impact on yourself, on your life, on the way that you do parent, inshallah. If you're somebody who's trying to do it for the right reasons and you're trying to better your knowledge, inshallah, and you're motivated to do so. Now, where do the challenges come in? There's a few different places where you might get common struggles. So it could be that you're not able to do this effectively because of your family or your other work commitments. It could be that you feel guilty for doing it, because you might feel like, I'm doing this, but I've got children as well. So thinking about prioritizing your goals. You might not even have access to places where you can go to acquire knowledge, or a supportive environment. Maybe you do have access to them, but you don't have the family or the community support that you need, subhanallah. So this is a struggle that is faced by women. So think about your situation and whether this is something that you are able to do. And I would say, when trying to give tips and strategies, be, first of all, absolutely realistic, subhanallah. That's the biggest advice I can give, because I think sometimes it's easier when you're trying to either acquire knowledge or go out to do your work, but you also got other responsibilities that you feel guilty and overwhelmed because you're not feeling like you've got enough time to do one or the other. So be realistic in terms of, have a conversation with either your family members or your spouse if you're married, as to what kind of time you're going to have. What is your schedule going to look like? What is your day-to-day life going to look like before you go out and do whatever it is that you're doing, wherever you're getting this knowledge, or doing a degree or whatever. And try and seek help, inshallah, where you can as well. If there are trusted friends and family members who would be happy to help you, take that help, inshallah. if that's available to you. I know certainly when I did my first degree that I did rely a lot on my family, alhamdulillah, may Allah reward them, helping out with the childcare as well. But obviously, as I got older and had more children, subhanallah, and I'd moved away by that point, I was pretty much on my own. But I still, asked family and friends where I could for help, and alhamdulillah, they did help me. Where there were times where I needed that help desperately, but also try and be kind to yourself. So, for example, I would schedule the cooking to first thing in the morning so that it was done before I even went to do my studies. And if the house wasn't perfectly clean, it didn't really matter, as long as the kids were fed and I was doing the other obligations and I was offering my salah and doing those things which are more important. So think about what you're going to be prioritizing and how you're going to prioritize it, and also what time you have available, and also that you are in agreement with your spouse if you're married in terms of what that's going to look like, because it can obviously get super difficult if you're both busy people and you both have responsibilities and you're both trying to either study or work or combination of the two, and then things get so busy that you haven't communicated with each other, and then that lack of communication can easily lead to arguments and fallouts, and we don't want that kind of situation to happen. So try and manage your time effectively. We've talked about time management and organization on previous vlogs, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about them except to think about this beforehand. Don't try and be a perfectionist, as I've mentioned. Try and start small and manageable. So, if you're thinking about studying or work or whatever, don't throw yourself into it full time. I know sometimes it's not in your hands, and that the way the courses are designed, it could be that it is full time, but see if there's an option for you to do it over a longer period and spend a short amount of time on it. So then you have got more time to focus on either responsibilities at home or your children, if you do have them, inshallah. And try and obviously make consistent dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I say this every day, I'm saying it again, so that Allah makes it easy for you in your pursuit of knowledge or your work, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in both in your time and in your effort as well, so that whatever it is that you're trying to do, you can do it in the best way possible, inshallah. So those are just some tips and strategies and some food for thought if you're in that situation, where maybe it is that you're balancing different responsibility in terms of you're trying to get your education or you're trying to go out and do some work, but then you have other responsibilities as well, that you're quite realistic about them. And the final thing I do want to also mention actually is that don't neglect your ibadah as a result of this, or things which are farther upon you to be doing. So I'm talking about things like offering salah. So don't use the fact that you might be going out to study or you might be going out to work as a reason for then not engaging in your 5 salahs. Try and prioritize that. And you can do that because, a lot, I know I do it, and a lot of people that I know, alhamdulillah, do it, where you speak to the manager, you speak to the educator, whoever it is, so you can have some time to go out and offer your salah at the salah time, inshallah, or during your lunch time, or however it is. So think about those things before you actually start pursuing your knowledge or your work, so that you are able to have a realistic idea in terms of if you're able to offer your salah, for example, or in Ramadan, especially if you're living in a non-Muslim country, what the schedule is going to be like, because it does get really difficult, because then it could be that the people in your environment that you're with aren't even fasting, or they might not have an understanding of it. Alhamdulillah, here where I am, people generally do have a very good understanding, and they are supportive, and they are quite respectful as well, So we would still be given those break times, and we'd go out and maybe we'd sit and do some ibadah. Like if we'd offered our salah, we'd spend some time reading the Quran or just talking to colleagues, and they would be quite respectful, even though they weren't Muslim, knowing that actually she is fasting, so she's not going to be eating with us. But we could still have a break. And those led to some really good, healthy discussions as well, subhanAllah, about each other's beliefs, etc. So just be wary of those things as well before you start your pursuit, so that you're realistic about them, and that you can have any support put into place if you need to. If you don't ask, you don't get. So don't be shy about these things, and don't neglect the things that you should be doing anyway on a daily basis at the expense of these other things, inshallah. By not neglecting them and by prioritizing them, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah in whatever it is that you're doing, inshallah. So I hope those tips and strategies are useful for you. If you enjoyed today's vlog, don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget you can watch all the other ones on the playlist on the channel, inshallah. I will see you again tomorrow. But for now, I will love you and leave you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.